If you're trying to kind of be an automation first company, how does that change the team and how you create the team? Do you need to think more about data people? Do you need roboticists, or are the machines kind of good enough that they can run by themselves?
Maybe the last bit first is really interesting. I think we are seeing with some real tech-forward startups are looking to implement automation that the balance of data scientists to wet lab scientists has shifted quite dramatically. I think it's really interesting from a product development perspective. It's really forcing us to think really hard about a developer-first experience, and where we think on one hand about like high usability to enable automation in all places, we also have to think about this like other aspect of enabling like this real tech-forward approaches, and actually like they don't really want a graphical user interface. They want to like get right into the weeds of dealing directly with our backends. That's one piece. I think I'm trying to think what the first part of the question was. Centralized automation, that's exactly it. That's also a really interesting bit because we have seen some cloud labs spring up and they've had varying degrees of success so far. I think, but on the flip side of that, I think we are seeing a lot more facilities that are thinking about how can I maximize uptime on it. So often we bought automation for a specific project, it gets used at a certain capacity and then it kind of fades away. What we want to do is avoid that. So build a system which can do many more things, so it's centralized but within a facility itself, and it has greater longevity of life, be able to swap in and out components and bring greater flexibility to that. That feels like the first step right now. I think there is definitely a line of sight to more like centralized cloud-operated labs, and that's certainly something we're looking at really closely, right? But I think a lot of this has to be driven from the organizations that really want to centralize that first. I think that might be, I've got lots of work cells spread across a facility and I'm maximizing the utilization of those. It might be I've got some much bigger systems that are physically centralized that are being consumed by lots and lots of different users. So it takes a couple of different shapes, but I think we're seeing greater adoption of that at a organization level right now, rather than this concept of a fully centralized servicing lab, which maybe we'll get there like sooner rather than later. The tech's there, it's just the adoption didn't seem to be very, very clear.
Yeah, on the role of the roboticists and whatnot, I do think that the second half of your question, we are constantly looking at what should be the role of physical humans and what should be the role of our systems. And I think we do have amazing team of automation engineers that work on our robotics in person, but they also challenge themselves to say doesn't a human need to get to this machine? One of the things we've been playing around with is a lot of self-healing robotics of can our common instrument types recover from common error types? And we're not all of our instruments, not all error types, but right now that's something our automation engineers who are actually physically with the equipment all of the time, they have a better sense of that than my software engineering team would have. And so giving them the space to be able to do that kind of innovation.
Yeah, I think you're seeing, so the first part of the question, Ginkgo is, doing sort of becoming the AWS for SynBio. And I think that's an interesting proposition. I mean, maybe it's a function of them kind of going really, really big on their biofoundry. So I think they're using that as an opportunity. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't think we're going to use that as an outsourced provider. But it could happen, especially for really specialized tasks, for things that are not core to what we want to do, and we don't want to build something in-house. For sure, we will look at all opportunities. But yeah, I think once it sort of gets more mature and established, we'd always sort of look at that, right? It's the same in sort of software. Do you build something? Do you buy something? Who do you trust to build on? And those kinds of things. I think the same applies here. In terms of the second part of the question, I'm really proud of the team we've built at Twig in terms of, we're loosely defined as science team and tech team, but actually last week I had all of my team in the lab working really closely with the scientists. And so we have, and so I think that's the kind of the interdisciplinary, the kind of the convergence of machine learning, software engineering, computational biology, and then sort of the pure SynBio and everyone being able to, I kind of quote, there's a spectrum from that, the kind of hardcore biology to the hardcore tech, and everyone in the company has spikes greater or little or smaller in both of those areas, and they sort of overlap. And so that's really great for now, but I'm sure as we grow and we progress, we'll have to change the teams or sort of add or bolster with sort of really core expertise. But as a startup, that's that's been really, really great to see, and actually much better than we originally thought. So I think definitely being literate on both sides. If you're a data scientist, then just be curious to learn about the computational and the computational biology, but also the fundamental synthetic biology, or the kind of the biology in general. And then from the biology side, for sure, everything is moving towards, everyone to a greater a certain level knows a bit of Python and can really understand and conceptualize that in a way that probably 10 years ago you wouldn't necessarily have. So everything's moving in that way. So I think, I'm biased, but I'd definitely say for sure, make sure you're at least literate and can sort of understand some of those quantitative concepts if you're a biologist, and then vice versa. Really, if you're a data scientist, you've got to understand the data and how it's generated and all that kind of thing to make any use of it.